Hello everyone, my name is Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, and in today's video we'll be going over why low-life builds are just so darn good in Dauntless. But before we do, we're going to have to take a moment to talk about what the heck has been happening on the channel in the past few days. So I wrote the script for this video on Thursday night, and in the script I mentioned that there was still a chance for you guys to be one of the OG 500 subscribers if you were to hurry up and subscribe right away. However, we are just coming toward the end of the process of me moving, so the audio for this video is being recorded now on Monday night, and within that 96-hour period we've gained 90 subscribers, which actually means that we are already close to closing in on 600 subscribers as well. So what else can I say but thank you to everybody who's been checking out the channel. I'm very glad that you guys have been enjoying the content, and seeing how many people are enjoying it is just a really motivating feeling. To everyone who's come along for the ride so far, you guys are awesome, and thank you so much, man. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy yourself some Dauntless content. So this is something that I've seen quite a lot while scrolling through the Dauntless Discord, is that someone will ask for a build that does not contain discipline. So the premise is understandable, as lesser experienced players may not feel quite so comfortable being limited to half HP. Another premise of this is that they feel they aren't skilled enough to be able to survive when limited to half HP, as in some cases, getting hit while at half HP can kill them. So let's try to break this down piece by piece and try to explain why you should build for low life play no matter your skill level. First, let me explain why discipline is so widely used. Before discipline was introduced, there were already 3 cells relating to when you were under 50% HP. During that time, going for flawless kills meant that these cells were not on the table. Once it was introduced though, this meant you could get the benefits of using these cells and still get flawless kills, since the HP limitation did not count as damage taken. The cells I'm referring to are Rage, Wild Frenzy, and Iceborn. Rage is a damage boost, Wild Frenzy is an attack speed increase, and Iceborn is damage reduction and lifesteal, all of these cells only being active while under 50% HP. You see, the majority of offensive cells in Dauntless require some condition to receive their benefits. Overpower's damage increase is only seen when the behemoth is staggered, interrupted, or recovering from a part break. Conduit's attack speed boost requires a player to use their lantern hold ability, and so on. Being able to start a fight at half HP effectively eliminates the activation requirement of Rage and Wild Frenzy, meaning you will always have the damage and attack speed increases from them in a fight. And because these cells would then guarantee increased damage per second, that means they were very viable for flawless kills and could make them happen even faster. So this is why Rage is seen in nearly every build, and Wild Frenzy is in many as well, as they're the easiest conditions to meet now that discipline has been introduced. Compare this to Predator, where if you get hit you lose your damage buff, or Evasive Fury, which requires you to dodge through an attack to gain the attack speed increase. When making that comparison, it actually starts sounding favorable for newer players to build around low life as well, since you'll always have attack, speed, and damage increase. I've been sort of neglecting Iceborn here, so let's discuss Iceborn and how it fits into this. Once again, Iceborn grants damage reduction when under 50% HP, and at +6 provides 8% of damage dealt as HP healing. Due to the damage reduction piece, which it isn't really even used for, there are instances where being under 50% HP when you get hit will leave you with more HP than if you were above 50%. So let's consider the following exercise. At max level, your max HP is 1100, which means with discipline we'd be at 550 HP. And let's compare it to a non-discipline build, which we'll set to have 690 499 HP. And let's hit both of these players with a 500 damage attack. Player 2 goes from 699 HP to 199 HP, but since player 1 has 30% damage reduction, he only takes 350 damage, putting him at 200 HP. We can do the same thing again, but this time they take 700 damage from the attack. Player 2 dies as they didn't have that much HP. However, player 1 survives with 60 HP as the 700 damage became 490 due to the damage reduction. Not only does player 1 survive, but if they hit the behemoth enough afterwards, they will get the lifesteal effect from Iceborn, bringing them back to half HP where they can then survive more damage. Because of the two of these traits in tandem, this makes Iceborn the best survivability cell, but to utilize it, it requires to be under half HP. So with that, we've explained why for both offensive and defensive purposes, being at half HP or lower is more beneficial. So let's now consider a build that would be the alternative to low life building. Playing a full HP build would be arguably more skill demanding than low HP build with Iceborn. Let's take an example build from around a year ago, which would have been very good for the time. We're going to have 6 Predator, Conduit, Rage Hunter, Overpower, Evasive Fury, and Etheric Attunement. What we see out of this is potentially having no damage increases whatsoever. If you get hit, you will have to wait 15 seconds to see the damage again from Predator. If the behemoth isn't enraged, you don't have that 40% damage boost from Rage Hunter. If you don't have the behemoth staggered, interrupted, or recovering from a part break, then you lack the 60% damage boost from Overpower. If you're not great with dodging through attacks, you are missing 20% attack speed, and Conduit's attack speed boost can be pretty hard to generate when you don't have any active damage or attack speed boosts. So when you have the option to run a build that will always have a damage boost active, why would you not? Especially when you can run Iceborn in the build where you have the best defensive cell in the game that synergizes with your attack speed and damage cells. And again, what I'm saying is that you should build around having low HP no matter what skill level you have, whether or not you decide to include discipline in the build, as earlier on in the game it can be hard to get discipline if you don't have someone to carry you through a normal trial. And many would argue that Iceborn is actually one of the best cells for newer players because it is very good at enabling casual play. There are two philosophies when people consider what newer players should learn how to play. There's the philosophy where you do not introduce them to Iceborn early and you actually force them to learn how to dodge and play the other mechanics of the game. And then there's the philosophy of showing them Iceborn as early as possible to get them more interested in the game because they aren't going to be dying as often. If you want my stance on the topic, I think the majority of players are going to be on console, chilling on their couch, whether they're playing Xbox, PS4, or Nintendo Switch. And many people play video games as a way to unwind from a stressful day. So the last thing that a majority of people need is to be stressing about whether or not they are getting hit in Dauntless. So my stance on the topic is you should introduce new players to Iceborn as soon as possible to get them more interested in the game and start building them around having low HP. And in the event they decide to take the game a little bit more seriously than the average casual player, then they're already used to having half HP or lower, so all they would really need to learn how to do at that point is to learn dodge timings for each behemoth. As someone who is able to get my dad interested in the game, I can attest that this is a pretty effective strategy. So before we leave here today, let's take a look at a starter pack build that will help introduce players to low life build mechanics. The perk summary of this build is going to consist of 6 Conduit, 6 Wild Frenzy, 6 Rage, 6 Iceborn, 6 Tough, and 6 Rage Hunter. This can be achieved with any Riftstalker weapon as well as Gnasher Sword, Strikers, Chain Blades, and Warpike. Using Tough and Iceborn is generally considered overkill, and for good reason. However, if you're just starting out and your goal is to get used to low life mechanics, this build is the one for you. When using this build, make sure you're only relying on Iceborn to heal you once you've gone under 50% HP. Using a potion can likely put you above 50% HP, halting halting the learning progress. Having both Tough and Iceborn in the build will make you damn near unkillable, and at max level this will be 800 HP on this build, which is, again, overkill. And it isn't all that difficult to start working on this build very early. The main thing that will require you to be closer to the mid game will be having Riftstalker unlocked. Well, that's gonna about wrap up this video. I hope this answered some of the questions you newer players may have had about why low life builds are so prevalent in Dauntless. If you guys would like some more guide style content, check out the interrupting and the best gear guides I made a little while ago. And once again, it's so great to see that so many people have been enjoying the content on the channel. Thank you to everyone for the support recently. I love you all. And once again, my name is Trevor. I go by Mr. Trails, and I will catch you guys next time.